the solution to everything. Over these 6 sessions, we're going to begin a study of the book, Vedanta Treatise, the Eternities. This book took 15 years to write. There was a tremendous amount of research that went into this book. The author, my mentor and teacher, Swami Parthasarathy, went into isolation to research and study. And what he did is, he went through the ocean of Vedanta literature and put it in a structure that you and I can understand. So to give some context, what is Vedanta, what is treatise, and what is the Eternities? Because that's the full title. Vedanta is the philosophy we're going to be studying. A treatise is a written composition that deals with a subject exhaustively. So in this one book, you have an entire philosophy encapsulated. The Eternities, if you look up the word eternity, you will find in most dictionaries. But the plural, the Eternities, you will find it in very few. It's in Chambers Dictionary, and it describes the Eternities, capital E, as the reality, the supreme reality, the truth. And that is the theme of the book. It's about truth. So let's start. What is Vedanta? Vedanta is a philosophy from the Himalayas. I'm inspired talking to you today because I am in the Himalayas as we take this session. This is where the philosophy came from. 8,000 years ago, ancient thinkers, sages, retreated to the mountains to study life, to study the individual. And those who wanted to learn from them would trek and venture through the jungles, going through all sorts of hardship and difficulties, but that was their sincerity to learn. Thousands of years later, we had other texts that were also part of Vedanta. They were also taught one-to-one. Student, guru, who is a spiritual teacher, to student. And it was passed on like this. So this was before the written word. Now, we're not quite that seeker, in the sense we haven't been through any jungles. Nobody is sitting in a cave. We're taking the session online, but the subject is the same. We're here to learn about life. We're here to learn about truth. This philosophy, Vedanta, comes from 2 Sanskrit words. The word Veda means the Vedas. We know of the 4 Vedas of India. These are the encyclopedias of India. And the word Anta means end. So Vedanta is the end portion of the Vedas. So these encyclopedias, they had different sciences. The last chapter dealt with the philosophy of humanity. And this was the Upanishads. And the Upanishads is where the philosophy resides. So many thinkers, the Greeks, the German philosophers and thinkers, the American poets, the English poets, they've all studied and taken from Vedanta. Religions have borrowed liberally from the philosophy. To quote Schopenhauer, he studied the Upanishads. He's a famous German philosopher. He says, in the whole world, there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life it will be the solace of my death. Arthur Schopenhauer. Henry David Thoreau, he was an American thinker, poet, philosopher. He also speaks highly of Vedanta. He says, in the great teaching of the Vedas, there is no touch of sectarianism. So it's not meant for a particular group of people. It is of all ages, all climes, and nationalities. And it is the royal road for the attainment of the great knowledge. So these American poets and philosophers, you might have heard of Walt Whitman or Ralph Waldo Emerson, Thoreau, they would all get together and they would have discussions like how we're having this evening. And they used to call themselves the Boston Brahmins. One of the other groups in the US was the Transcendentalists, where there were modern thinkers studying the Upanishads. In Europe, we had the Romantics, Keats, Wordsworth, all reading Vedanta. Swami Ramatirtha, he puts it best. Yes, this is a great philosophy, but it is something more innate, more intimate. He says, Vedanta brings you a religion which is found in the streets, which is written upon the leaves, which is murmured in the brooks, which is whispered in the winds, which is throbbing in your veins and arteries, a religion which concerns your business and bosom, a religion which you have not to practice by going to a particular church, mosque, or temple only, a religion which you have to practice and live by in your everyday life, about your hearth, in your dining room, everywhere. So we're picking up that there's a universal nature about this philosophy, that it's meant for every human being. Yes, it is. There is a pun on the word Veda. Vedanta is not just the end portion of the Vedas. Veda also means knowledge. So Vedanta is literally the culmination, the end of knowledge. You're saying, this seems very strange, because usually when we talk about knowledge or we talk about any worldly pursuit, it expands. The more you get, the more there is to learn. And yet, with respect to Vedanta, it says there is an end to knowledge. That end is the ultimate state of human perfection. It is when you understand who you truly are, when you reach absolute, infinite happiness, peace. And the word that they use is the Sanskrit word. And you can impress others when they ask you, what did you learn today? Barbara, in Slovakia, if someone asks you, what did you learn in the class? I learned Paripurna. Paripurna. It means not just fulfilled. It means absolutely fulfilled. There is nothing else that you can take or gain to enhance your experience. Doesn't matter what is taken away from you. They can't detract from that experience. You are full. And whether we are seeking it consciously or unconsciously, we all want that kind of lasting fulfillment. And we're trying all sorts of ways to find it. Through relationships, through the pleasures of the world, but everything falls short of it. But there have been saints and sages who, throughout time, throughout different eras, have been able to throw up their hands and say, I'm done. I've got it. I'm fulfilled. I've achieved it. This state or this experience is what Vedanta takes us to shoulder, from where we are right up to that absolute bliss. What is the impact of the philosophy? And as we go through the book, the study, and definitely in these 6 sessions, you'll get an idea, is there are very many applications of the philosophy. It'll improve our concentration, our work, our relationships, etc. But if I was to put it in one line, what this philosophy can do for you and for the world, it shows us that suffering is unnecessary. We need not go through the amount of sorrow and agitation that we are going through. And it says that because our real nature is paripurna, is full. Whatever you need for your happiness is already right there with you. Difficult to believe? It's there. We just don't know it. We're not aware of it. So this education is more a re-education of who you are. You've forgotten it. There's a story hundreds of years ago in a kingdom in India. And there was a young royal couple, a king with his beautiful queen, and they were ruling the region with prosperity, with charity. All were happy. There was a great flood in this region. And the flood washed many homes away. And it kept on rising and rising and rising. And the king and queen now feared for their lives. And they didn't know what to do. Where was a safe place to keep the baby? So they made this kind of waterproof crib for the baby. They put the baby on the crib. A boy, the prince, the heir to the kingdom. And they all tried to go as high as possible. The king and queen did not make it. But the baby survived. And that young prince grew up as a beggar boy. And he would go to the shopkeepers in the region, and some would be kind to him and would give something. Some would be mean to him and say, "Scram, you brat." And others would be indifferent. And so he would go day to day. Until one day, he saw a group of people watching him very curiously. And he was suspicious. So he started moving away from them. Then he started running, and they started running, and they caught him. They caught him. They pulled up his sleeve, and on his arm, there was a tattoo, as it were. The brand of the royal family. He was the missing prince. And the kingdom's advisors had found the heir to the throne. And they caught him and they took him away. And they tried to explain to him, "Look, you are the prince. All this is yours. All this kingdom is yours. We are your subjects." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a beggar. No. Your father was the king. Your mother was the queen," etc., etc. And they're trying to tell him. And they gathered the kingdom in front of him. And they're saying, "Now we must introduce you to your subjects." And the boy asked the advisors, "Are you saying that I'm the king?" He said, "Yes." "That means that they will listen to whatever I have to say?" "Yes." So he waves at the people and he said, part, make an aisle." And all the people parted. They made an aisle. "Your Highness, Your Highness." And as soon as they made the aisle, he started running. He tried to escape. They caught him again. They brought him back. Say, "Hey, you are the king. You've got to take up your responsibility." And slowly the boy understood But years later, when he was going through his cupboard, he found his old beggar clothes that he had kept. And he thought, let me, for amusement's sake, let me return to the street. So he put on his beggar clothes and he went into the street. And those same shopkeepers, some were happy. They said, oh, it's been a long time. We haven't seen you in years. Here you go, something extra. And some were still mean. We thought we got rid of you. Good riddance, but you're back. And others were indifferent. What is the difference between the boy begging before and the man begging afterwards? When was he the king? Yes, Nidhi.
He was always the king. Only the knowledge was missing.
He was always the king. That's it. He was always the king. The only thing that changed was his awareness that he's the king. So earlier, he went through all the suffering. He was begging and he was affected. He was affected by the good things. He was affected by the bad things. But later on, when he knew he was the king, whether they gave him or they didn't give him, he wasn't affected because he knew, I'm a king. Similarly, all of us are monarchs. We are full. We are the infinite, blissful self within. But we don't know it. We don't know what we are heir to. Therefore, we go begging to our bodies and our minds and our intellects and the world and people for happiness, for pleasure. And when we get it, we smile. And when we don't get it, we're depressed. It's not that we are not full. We just don't know it. This is our original nature. How do we say that? I'm going to give you the example of a coiled spring. So imagine a coiled spring, okay, 4 feet high. All right, a spring. Okay, everyone following? So this coiled spring, if I press it from 4 feet, I press, I press it to 1 foot. What do I feel on my top hand?
Tension.
Tension.
Pressure.
Yeah, please feel free, just unmute and speak. Right? I feel pressure on my top hand. There's a pressure what? Upwards. Now, if I release the spring to 2 feet, what do I experience?
Less pressure.
Relief.
3 feet, even less pressure. And if I release it to 4 feet?
No pressure.
No pressure.
Why?
Relief.
Why is there no pressure at 4 feet?
Because it's in the natural state.
It's
Original
in
position.
its natural state. It's reached its original state. There is the diagram there. At 1 foot, there's maximum pressure. At 2 feet, there's less pressure. It's getting closer towards its original state. 3 feet, still less. 4 feet, no pressure. Now, you and me today, we feel a pressure for pleasure. We feel agitated. We're searching. We're looking. Why? Because we have not reached our original state. But if we start moving towards this Vedanta, the end of knowledge, the realization of that fulfillment, the self within, every step you make towards it, you will find that pressure for pleasure, that agitation reducing. It will not go. That pressure will not cease until you reach the realization of your true state, of the self, of who you really are. That is your original state. Why? We don't know it yet. We're going by the convictions and the experiences that have been documented by thinkers before us who have reached that state and said, no more pressure. So do we go by these various and consistent accounts or testimonies of saints and thinkers who've reached this state? It's a bit of faith. It is. But it's reasoned faith, because it's not 0 to 100. Every step you progress towards finding out who you are, going within, every step that you make, you will find yourself less and less agitated. There's a very simple indicator to decide whether your investment in learning the philosophy is working. In fact, we should use this indicator for everything in life, all our pursuits. And it is this: am I happier this year than I was last year? Will I be happier tomorrow than I am today? And what am I doing for it? Now look at the activities that you've chosen, your work, maybe the country that you've emigrated to, the partnerships and relationships that you've decided. They have all been towards acquiring more and more happiness. Have they given you that happiness? If not, do a quality control. Approach happiness methodically, scientifically. How is it we approach our business, we approach our health methodically, but when it comes to our happiness, it's random trial and error? Vedanta says there is a royal path. Henry David Thoreau, we just read, says there is a great path to this great knowledge. Follow it. And from your experience, you will see, if you're consistent, in a matter of months, less stress, less agitation. So, how do we know we are moving, or what's an indicator? I'm going to put up a graph that you could use to mark your evolution. If we are already full, we don't need objects, things, and beings to make us feel complete, because they cannot complete us. But we are trying. So, when you develop yourself through knowledge, we're all at different levels. On the left-hand side, we have 0, and 100 is 100% development. That is, you know who you are. You're a king, self-realization. To the extent that you develop your personality, you develop yourself, you become self-sufficient. You need the world less. You need things and beings less. It's not that you don't have them, it's not that you don't care for them, but your happiness is not dependent upon them. Now, what do we need for us to be happy? The wife must smile. And people must acknowledge us. And they must remember our birthdays. And there should be kindness, and wars should stop. And we have a list of things that we need for our happiness. That means our development is not very high. We need the temperature to be 22 degrees Celsius. Otherwise, uncomfortable. Food should not be spicy, or should be spicy. Why are we placing our happiness on external factors? The more we develop, the less dependent we should be on the world. Now, all these points that we're covering, it's an overview of the philosophy. And all of this is covered in chapter 1 of Vedanta Treatise, the Eternities. That book consists of 21 chapters, and it works like a telescope. Okay? And in a telescope, all the lenses fit into each other to help you get that vision of much further away. And the vision that the author wants us to take is the title of the last chapter, That Thou Art. It means you are that. You are that king. You are that self. You are that infinite bliss. But if you tell that to me now, I can't conceive it. It's too much. It says, I'm stressed. I've got problems. I've got business issues. My children, they're not very cooperative. And you're telling me I'm a king? No, this is unrealistic. Say, oh, no, hold on. That's the last chapter. Okay, it's going to get us there. But at least let's keep an idea of what we're moving towards. So we may not accept it, but let's at least conceive it. Okay. I'm not buying this just yet, but okay, maybe I could be a king. Maybe I could be happy, fulfilled. Leave it at that. Let's get on to the more practical aspects of the subject. See, the base of the subject is towards finding that original state, that 4 feet high, the original resting place of the spring. And the base of this philosophy is the base of all religion, the base of all yoga. Why I say that is, does anyone know etymologically means the root, derivation? What does religion mean? The word, like how we split up Vedanta. When you split up religion, what do you get?
I mean to get back to the self.
Get back to the self, okay. Well, let's have a look. I'll put it on the screen for you. So religion is made up of 2 Latin words, legare. So re means again, legare means to tie, to unite. So it's to retie, reunite. That's the meaning of religion. The word yoga comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to unite, to join. So in both these words, there is an assumption that you have separated from what? From yourself within, from that awareness that you are the ultimate. That's what we've separated from. And all parts, all knowledge, to get you back to yourself, to take you towards that fulfillment, is called religion in English, is called yoga in Sanskrit. This philosophy is doing exactly that. So what you find is, and I know we've got people from different faiths in this class, this will not challenge your faiths. It will be the opposite, in fact. It will give you the philosophy to understand your respective religion deeper, in totality. You will get the scope of it all and see how beautifully it fits. In every tradition, 3 things are recommended. With the body, service. With the mind, love. With the intellect, knowledge. You may call it by different names, but it is there in all of these traditions. But when you study the philosophy, you start connecting the dots. Say, why are these 3 there in all traditions? Because you have 3 equipments, a body, a mind, and intellect. So what do you do with the body? What do you do with the mind? What do you do with the intellect to unite, to find the self within? Service, love, knowledge. So we start getting the roadmap to the self. And that's why it becomes so clear. I think the difference you'll find in this path as we embark on the journey is the modus operandum that we use is reason. And this is important. Reason means connecting cause and effect, a sequence through logical conclusions. So it's important that whatever is presented, either through your reading or through the classes or through Vedanta e-learning, which is the video lectures by Swamiji, that you try and make the subject your own. Does this make sense? And make it a discussion. So it can either be a discussion like this in the class, you can ask a question, but more importantly, question yourself. What is being said? Why is it being said? If it admits your reason, use it. Think of it as a buffet. The parts that appeal to you, that make sense, use it straight away, implement in your life. But there may be some aspects where you're not quite sure. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not following this logic. Don't dismiss it. Just park it aside. Maybe later along, it might appeal to you. Just keep it aside. I don't understand it yet. Don't follow it. Follow it if it makes sense. Now, it's interesting because how did I start the session? I told you about how old the philosophy is. I told you about great thinkers, the Greeks, the Americans, the Europeans, all thinkers from different eras, studying Vedanta, talking about how great a philosophy is. Now I'm saying, dismiss all that. Only follow it if it makes sense to you. So then why did I mention how old it is and who has praised it? Because it does give you some enthusiasm to start the journey. We have a value at the moment for what other great thinkers have said about it. We've got a testimonial. Okay. Perhaps, I'm sure with many of you, Cindy, Elvira, you came to Vedanta through a friend's recommendation. So it has an impact. But ultimately, as we go forward, let us accept or reject based on its merit. So truth is Vedanta's strong point. Does it make sense to you? And this is what Lord Buddha says. He encapsulates it beautifully. Lord Buddha says, do not believe what you have heard. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. We just mentioned that, remember? Teacher to student, teacher to student. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from some old sage. The author of this book is currently 95. That doesn't mean it makes sense. Do not believe in conjecture, guessing, random. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. Then what should we do? But after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees with reason and it will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it. Lord Buddha. Reason is the basis for our study. So that's how we are going to approach the subject. So whenever you have a question, you're welcome to ask me to substantiate. Sudhakar, how are you making that connection? Why did you say this? So I won't take it as a challenge. It'll be in the spirit of deepening our understanding. In fact, it's very much like how we approach science. In science, we start off with a hypothesis. we've noticed that this repeatedly does that. Let us examine that. So what do? We put it under certain conditions, we test it, we repeat the experiment, and then we note down our conclusions. And if we find logic, we find a consistency in our experimentation, in our observation, we formulate it into laws, principles. This is science. What is Vedanta? Vedanta does exactly this, only the subject matter is slightly different. I'll put it on the screen for you. Whereas science deals with the world, Vedanta deals with the individual, the you. Life is made up of experiences. So we can define life, and I'm sure we can all agree, as this interim between birth and death. And between birth and death, it's a series of experiences. In Sanskrit, we say anubhava dara, which means a stream or flow of experiences. So now we have a flow of a lecture. For some of you, it might be, the next experience might be dinner. I'm not sure if we have anybody from America here. It might be an experience of breakfast. But experience after experience after experience. My next experience will be deep sleep. So we have experiences. To have a good life, we need to improve the quality of the experiences. To improve the quality of experiences, we need to improve the components. There are two. And you saw that. One is the subject, you. You are the common factor in all your experiences. The second is the object. That's the world. So right now, you are listening to a session on the Vedanta Treatise. So you are the subject in your experience, I'm the object. And depending on how these two connect, how these two react with each other, so they experience. So if you're interested in the philosophy, it's a positive experience. Not so interested, say, oh, okay, I think this is the first and the last session. Negative experience. So there's the subject and the object. Now, what science has done, they looked at it and said, the purpose of humanity or human life is to improve human lives, the quality. So if we want to improve the quality of life, and let's put that diagram back, what do we need to do? Improve the quality of the experience. So you can do it one of two ways. Scientists said, let's work on the world. And they have done an incredible job. The advancement of technology in the last 50 years, incredible. So they've improved the world. We're able to talk to each other from different parts of the world in real time, live. Incredible. There's a cricket World Cup going on. I can see a player playing live in Australia. I can see the perspiration on his brow. Incredible technology. Such advancement. So the world has been improved. But now the question I ask you, has this given us what the scientists were trying to achieve, a better quality of experience, a better quality life? What would you say? With all the advancement, an electric car, iPhone 14, which is more like a camera than a phone, what would you say? Has it made human lives better? Has the quality of human experience improved?
No.
No,
No.
we can't. Yeah, we don't see a direct correlation. And yet that is their effort. Their effort has been to create that. And yet we find people who have improved their worlds, bigger homes, bigger bank balances, more assets, not necessarily happier. And for those who are still in that pursuit of trying to get more and more and beautify their external world, examine those who have it and ask them, are you happy? Because it's not there. It's not in the external world. In some of the most beautiful countries, most developed democracies, where everything's functioning beautifully, GDP, excellent, one of the highest in the world. They also have the highest divorce rates, depression amongst the youth, all sorts of problems, different problems, but problems. And the problem is not that the world has been improved. That's fine. That's okay. That's good. But the subject, the individual, has been neglected. So these ancient thinkers, the Vedantins, they set about researching the individual. Just as science came up with hypotheses and experimented and made conclusions, so did these thinkers. They said, let's see what causes stress in an individual. What gives an individual peace? What makes an individual more productive, more optimized? They documented it, made it into laws, and it's there. Why is it not known? Over a long lapse of time, this philosophy has been lost. One is it's in an ancient language. It's in Sanskrit. But two, it used to be something that was taught to every youngster in India. Although it comes from India, it doesn't belong to India. But this knowledge has been lost due to various foreign invasions that India had. It was deliberately suppressed. And thanks to the work of recent thinkers, and most prominently, Swami Parthasarathy, has spent a lifetime just organizing the philosophy, compiling it, putting it into a curriculum for our self-development. It's available for you, me, and humanity to enjoy. Why is it applicable today, something that was thousands of years old? Because it's based on Sanatana Dharma. Again, two Sanskrit words. Sanatana Dharma means eternal principles, laws. It's based on laws of life and living. Gravity hasn't changed. It's a law. It was gravity then, it's gravity now. It doesn't change with time. That's what makes it a law. It's always applicable. So similarly, that which caused peace or agitation thousands of years ago, it's the same human mind that's going through this. And we can find great relevance in our modern day lives. We started on the highest philosophy, that we are actually fulfilled. But we may not be convinced yet whether to pursue the self or take on this path of Vedanta, to which the author also appeals to us at a relative, more mundane level. And it says that this philosophy, yes, it's taking you towards your kingship within, but it will give you also what you're looking for in the world. What? Material prosperity and peace. Okay, that sounds more promising. I can relate to that. Yes, I would like to be a little less stressed. I would like to be more productive. I would like to earn more. I would like a better world and peace of mind. Great, what a combination. Yes, Vedanta gives both. How? We find in the world today, either you get people who are extremely productive or relatively content. You never find the two together. So when we think of a person, okay, I'll do it as an experiment now. Think of somebody as peaceful. Okay? Nidhi, Siddhant, think of somebody who's peaceful. What comes to mind? Yvonne? Someone lying on the beach,
Yeah,
reading a book,
exactly.
by a cave, meditating. This is our concept of a person at peace. Vedanta is saying, hold on. Change the picture. Imagine a peaceful person in a boardroom, in a court, a field, in the market. We don't associate it like that. In fact, we associate the workplace as being stressful. So we find those who are productive, yes, they're productive, but the stress is out of control. All sorts of physical ailments, all sorts of mental ailments, all sorts of heart-related diseases, but productive. They're achievers. And those who are relatively content, no action. Is it possible to be active and peaceful at the same time? Yes. In driving, you find in India, we have some beautiful expressways. So Mumbai, Pune is one such stretch. And it's 3 lanes up, 3 lanes down, sometimes 4 lanes on either side, right? Beautiful roads. What is the speed limit?
80.
The speed limit is 80, not miles. 80 kilometers per hour on these beautiful expressways, 80 kilometers per hour. And it is deliberately very low. So the government thinks that this will stop accidents. And yet, every time you travel on that expressway, you will find there is at least one accident. You go to Germany on the Autobahn, in some sections, there is a minimum speed of 150 kilometers per hour, 120 minimum speed. In some places, there's no maximum. It's unlimited. And yet very few accidents. So consider, what is the difference? Do we need to slow down to be less stressed? Or can we learn the technique to drive? If your driving technique is sound, is 100%, you can travel at that speed. But the problem is, we are performing, but we haven't yet developed our personality to handle that kind of performance. So our equipments are battling under that kind of performance. We don't know how to live at that speed, but we can learn it. And that's why Vedanta is so refreshing, because it's not asking you to slow down. It's saying improve your capacity, develop your skills, develop your life skills. See, for you and me, it's very easy for us to be virtuous, to be moral. Say, I will never be corrupt. Why? Because we're not in power. But as you start getting introduced to power, the temptation starts picking up. So if you are at the district level, a person offers you, look, this is what I'll do for the district. If you do me this favor, say, no. No, sorry, I don't do that. As you get higher, the stakes get higher. And then you start hesitating. Oh, for the whole region. This will benefit the region. And it'll keep me in power longer. You hesitate. The higher you rise, the more development in your character you need to handle it. The greater your fame, you need more personality to handle the fame. The problem is not wealth, not fame, not power, but do you have the character to handle it? And nowhere do they teach that. Any person who goes through fame, wealth, status, etc., there should be a handbook. Otherwise, we collapse under it. It's too fast. There will be accidents. There's a nice metaphor of, in sailing, you've got the mast of the ship, and proportionate to the master, the height of the mast of the ship, what do you need? How do you ensure that this ship or boat does not topple? So if you're sailing, the higher the mast, how do you ensure that it doesn't topple? It's called the keel, the deeper the keel. So there's a part under the ship that acts as the counterweight. So if the mast gets higher, the keel has to be adjusted proportionately. Similarly, we can move faster if we have the ability to relate to life better. How does Vedanta give us peace? How does it give us prosperity? Number one, first, peace. What causes us agitation? Anyone?
Non-fulfillment of our desires.
Sorry, Nidhi?
Non-fulfillment of our desires.
We don't get what we want. When we have a desire and it's unfulfilled, that's an agitation. Okay? You have a desire to have a cigarette. Your mind is going like this. Cigarette, cigarette, cigarette. What is a strong desire unfulfilled? Cigarette, 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 cigarette. What is a very strong desire unfulfilled? I think you're getting the point. Cigarette, 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 cigarette. This is what's going on at your mental level. This is one desire. How many desires do you have? My children should behave like this. My boss should be like this. My employees should be like this. The weather should be like this. The geopolitics should be like this. This president should say that. And that president should say this. All these unfulfilled desires causing you agitations, stopping you from sleeping, stopping you from being in the present, being in the moment. You're not able to enjoy a conversation, a meal with your family. What does Vedanta do? It reduces your desires. It reduces the intensity and the number of your desires, that mind chatter. Less desires, less intense desires, less unfulfilled desires equals less agitation, more peace. How? How do we reduce desires? That is the theme for another lecture. I can't give you everything in the first lecture. This is the, in TV serials, to be continued. Cliffhanger. And the second one is, how do you get prosperity? You get prosperity, productivity, optimization by doing the best action. If you want to be successful, it is not about thinking successful, but doing the right action that will demand success. Means your effort itself commands success. You put in the right cause, the effect is success. What is the right cause? And again, another trailer. The right cause is the 3 C's. Concentration, consistency, cooperation. Concentration deals with the quality of your action. It is one part of your personality, your intellect, keeping your mind, the other aspect, on the activity that you're supposed to be doing and doing it to the best of your ability. In this lecture, can any of you say that you have been in this lecture 100%? I would say if you've been here 50%, thank you very much. It's not possible because we haven't developed our personality, but that's what we've got to aim towards. 100% in the present application on the activity that you've chosen. Thank you, Elvira. Elvira says she's been following. Excellent. What about consistency? Consistency is all our actions directed towards the goal we want to achieve. It means if you want to be fit, you have to go to the gym, yes, but you also have a desire to have an entire tiramisu cake. Conflict. You've got to ask yourself, is every action taking me towards my goal? And the last C is cooperation. Cooperation is understanding that if you want to be successful, prosperous, we need the cooperation of others. No doubt we can achieve a certain extent alone, but if we have the cooperation of others, how much better, how much more potent. But in order to do that, we have to learn how to relate, to get people to go along with us. What qualities we need to develop there. So Vedanta gives you the 3 C's that will give you material prosperity, success. Vedanta gives you peace of mind by reducing your unfulfilled desires. But most importantly, Vedanta takes you to yourself within, and that gives you eternal bliss. So you've got material prosperity, you've got the 3 C's, you've got peace of mind, and you've got the promise of eternal bliss. What more do you need? It is the solution to everything. If it makes sense, take it. You might say, Sudhakar, this sounds too good to be true. Why is it not known? How come we've never heard of this before? Sheer ignorance. We just don't know. So we are searching for our happiness outside because we don't know the happiness that we can find within. Vedanta is going to take us there. This study is going to take us, help us explore within what that actually means. We've heard it. It's become such a popular phrase that it's lost its meaning. But yes, this journey within, Vedanta is going to help us navigate. But why aren't more people doing it? Why isn't this classroom? You know, someone asked me, is there space in your class? I said, yes, the internet is huge. Why aren't there thousands of people when this is the answer to everything? Just ignorance. And the example is, and it's in the book, if you offer a child a bar of chocolate, a milky bar of chocolate, and in the other hand, a wad of $100 notes, what will the child choose? The chocolate.
The chocolate.
If you say the wad of notes, I say, okay, 2-year-old child. Will get younger and younger. It will choose the chocolate. Why? Immediate pleasure. You as the parent, you behind my back, you might say, you tell the baby, choose the wad of notes because you can buy so many chocolates with the notes. It doesn't know the value of the notes. That is why it doesn't search there, it doesn't choose there. All of us here in this classroom know what the world offers. We just need to examine it. With conviction, if you analyze, you will see that nobody has found that eternal, lasting happiness in the world. So let's keep an open mind and start investigating the self within, the eternities. Thank you, everyone.